But the last day I wanted to be off would have been Monday, considering what happened.
And what did happen was Shohei Ohtani signs a 10-year, $700 million deal.
And Chris, I do
with
want to
the
say,
Los Angeles Dodgers.
let me say this real quick. I know all over sports talk radio now, Chris, Ohtani's a topic, right? And conversation all over. If you listen to the Odd Couple the last few years, this is not new to us. We've been talking about Ohtani for for 3 years, Chris, right? This is not new and some topic we're just picking up because it's so you can't ignore it anymore. We've talked about him.
Absolutely.
And you guys have responded last year. Ask Rob G. The number 2 rated, Chris, download last year was the conversation about Otani or Judge who should be the MVP. That was our number 2, and we do all kinds of topics and all kinds of stuff. So I just wanted to put that out there. That I know on every station now and every show.
Stop shilling for baseball.
I am. I can't help it.
It's just sad.
But we've been doing it for all. That's all I'm saying. All right.
All right. So obviously this contract is very complicated. $680 million of it deferred. Let me say this quickly, Rob. I do think it, and baseball is really, I don't even know if that's legal right now in the NFL and NBA. But in baseball, it's not unheard of. You see this sometimes.
Bobby Bonilla got a deferred
everybody
payout.
talks about that, right? Freddie Freeman contract, like $57 million was deferred. Mookie Betts deferred a little bit of his. I actually think, Rob, that I think that can be a good thing for athletes because, you know, a lot of these guys are young when they're young generally. All of them are generally speaking young. But, you know, you're 23 years old. You come into all this money. Sometimes you come from an impoverished background, or even if you don't, I mean, I wouldn't have known what to do with all that money. And I grew up middle class. And so sometimes you may overspend or whatever because you're young. And I do think that it can be good for an athlete who's going to retire at age 35, you know, generally speaking, to have millions deferred so that you're still getting a huge contract when you're done playing. I think some athletes could really benefit from that. We all know Allen Iverson's situation, Rob, where a lot of his Reebok money was deferred, and he didn't like it. And his mom, that's why they got rid of David Falk. But it worked out for him and is a benefit to him. So I don't have a problem with that. I'm just shocked at the amount, right? Like that $680 million of
the 700, right.
And I know he doesn't need the money. He's got endorsement money galore, and obviously you can live nicely off $2 million a year if that's all you were getting. But that's what really was shocking to me, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, when the details come out, Chris, it is. For him to make only $2 million is just doesn't fit in because now he's like the 17th highest paid player on the Dodgers roster, Chris. So they get a once-in-a-lifetime unicorn-type player.
Right.
And they're not paying any money for him. And it
does count, $46 million on the cap, so to speak.
Right, but there's no cap. You know what I mean? I mean,
right,
a threshold.
But there's a luxury tax and all that stuff.
Right. But still, it does take away, and this is where I think Shohei's got to be very careful. He should be a player that people are all into, look up to, admire, marvel at. I just saw a story in Forbes, Chris. The Dodgers season tickets doubled.
Oh, yeah.
After they signed Otani. Doubled season tickets. Doubled. So now, by Otani doing this, it looks like he's LeBron James too. He's building a super team. He's doing it against the different way that people have done it.
They're already going after
Yamamoto,
right?
Yeah, Yamamoto, right? They're trying to get the other pitcher, right? Who's a stud. And my point is
now there's reports that they could get
him a trade, right? They could get a trade tomorrow, and only it won't hurt them because Otani's not taking that much money.
Because they already had a great team anyway.
They won 100 games the last 2 years. Right. What are they going to win, 120? and what I'm saying is he's now going to turn himself from this baseball hero unicorn who we can't get enough of into the villain. He's going to the building a super team where the Dodgers now, because of the way he structured his contract, and he doesn't have to have all the money, and the Dodgers could financially, Chris, even though it counts, financially do it now and go out and get 2 or 3 starting pitchers to go with Ohtani. Ohtani, Chris, if they pull this off and they do what they seem that they're going to do, should be villain number 1 in Major League Baseball, because this is how LeBron was vilified in doing something very similar, in that he altered the structure of putting teams together. And this is very different for a star player in baseball to take such a, Chris, you said it. It's not that some of the money's deferred. 680 of the 70 is deferred.
97% or something
like that is like unheard of. That's unheard of.
Okay, look, I agree with you, and Rob G can attest, right? When we were talking before the show about the topics, I mentioned to him, without knowing your view, it's like a super team. Like he's putting together a super team. So I totally agree with you on that. Where I disagree with you, and I would think you'll like this, but where I disagree with you, Rob, is that baseball is just so different. I don't think he can be a villain because, Rob, they could have the 9 best, or let's say the 8 best position players in baseball and 3 of the top 4 pitchers, from last year, and still not win it. Like baseball, you just cannot guarantee. I mean, heck, we know that the team in Anaheim, but for the injuries, I mean, you had Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, arguably the 2 best players or 2 of the top 3 or 4 best players in baseball, and you didn't even make the playoffs. Look at San Diego. Look at all their talent. They didn't make the playoffs. Like, you have, I just think in baseball, now I do think Rob Ohtani will definitely win at a World Series with the Dodgers. Can I say with certainty he's going to win multiple? I hope so, but I can't say that. I do think baseball is so different that should, to me, protect him from the villain perception.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point in the way baseball goes. But it could be like the people looked at the Yankees, the evil empire, Chris. They won. They had the high payroll. Right. They had the players. They won 3 out of 4.
And they didn't even have, remember, they were homegrown a lot.
Right. Those guys were homegrown. Andy Pettit, Mariano Rivera, Jorge Posada, Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams. Those were all Yankee farmhands that all developed into stars. But still, then they added other pieces, Chris, and they were the evil empire, and they didn't let
that part.
So if Ohtani does this and it works for the Dodgers, that's where I think he becomes a villain, because the other teams will be like, dude, this is unfair. Like, this is unfair because he altered the shift in the power structure in baseball, right, by going to the Dodgers and then giving them such a team-friendly contract that they were able to stockpile 2 other star pitchers to go along with him, and then they won 3 in a row. I'm just saying, and he won't be like they'll look at him as the villain.
Well, I think that's interesting, and you're right. It's funny. It's like if it doesn't work, obviously he won't be a villain. If it does work, he could be. But I would throw this out. If it does work, let's say they win, 3 of the next 5 championships. Or maybe even more, than that. 3 out of 4 years or 3 in a row or whatever. Do you think, would they be viewed as villains? Or would it be kind of, Rob, what baseball's really been looking for? Like, I think there's a great argument to be made that they would actually capture the imagination of the nation. And we know baseball has been, these last few decades, people have said it's now a regional sport and all that. But with the greatest player in the game, who's so unique because he does, pitching and hitting, and then Mookie Betts and other superstars who are clear-cut Hall of Famers, and them winning championships, I actually think, Rob, that might just be what the doctor ordered for baseball, because who wouldn't love that? I mean, I think that's the type of thing that brings in casual fans. And again, because of the nature of the sport, I don't think it would be viewed like Golden State was when they had Kevin Durant. I think it might be like people it's like a traveling circus that everybody loves.
Yeah, no, I get that. And that was the Heatles, right? Like they were
but they were they were viewed as villains.
Right, I'm just saying, but it was a circus going around. Everybody wanted to see them.
It helped them that they lost that first year.
Right, it did.
Said, okay, they're not,
they're not going to go. They're not going to go to 4 and win 4 straight, and like LeBron, not 2, not 3, not 4.
Right.
So it didn't happen the first year. It gave people like, okay, good. You know what I mean? To feel better about it.
Yeah.
But had they won right off the bat, Chris, it might have been
they would have been hated probably throughout the tenure.
Exactly, and that's where I think could happen with the Dodgers if they're able to get 2 more pitchers. If they're able to do that, it could be an incredible thing.
I don't know. I mean, you're obviously not grinding necessarily like you used to, but have you talked to people in baseball, around baseball? Like, is there a feeling, a negative feeling about the contract and what it could allow the Dodgers to do, or not?
Yeah, I mean, there are people who don't like it in baseball, because is this going to start some sort of new trend? Is this going to put pressure on other players, Chris, not to take their money up front?
Thing, right.
Yep. Like a team, you trying to win? Look at Otani.
Yep.
He wanted to win. He's the best player, and he's not even taking any money. You got endorsement money to live on. You got plenty of money coming in. Like, they start counting your pocketbook.
Right. Nah, that part is